Hi there. Welcome to the Productive AI podcast. I'm your host, Troy Angradon. Today we're talking to Bharath Gaddam, who's the CEO and founder of DataPOEM. We're going to be talking about the marketing automation industry and how to apply AI into that space in new and innovative ways. Bharath, welcome and thanks for coming on the show today.
Hi, Troy. Thank you so much for having me. It's a great place to talk to you, and I'm really excited about our conversation.
So, can you give a little bit of background on your history, how you got here, why you founded DataPOEM? Because you have quite an extensive history in marketing. So, I think it would be interesting for people to hear that background.
So, all along, 15 years of my professional career, I've been advising marketeers in terms of investing their marketing investments effectively and efficiently, right? As much as possible, the best way possible. And during the years, we figured out that, one thing that is unanswered questions for marketeers is about whether the investment is right, whether the media mix is right, whether the channel mix is right, whether the program mix is right. There are a lot of unanswered questions, and it all falls upon the marketing leader to just make a leap of faith and actually make a decision and go with it, and he has to face all the consequences. I've been on the advisory side of marketing investments, where I was helping marketing leaders with mass media strategy, digital strategy, overall interconnected strategy. While we are trying to do all of that on the hearts of the heart, we always believe that we are not doing the full thing because we are always looking at silos. And the most important thing is that we never knew what was the effect of marketing on the sale. That actual real causation of what is causing what in so many moving parts that are going on. It was a $1 million question, and that actually create the whole thing of even today marketing leaders make that as a number one challenge, which is measurement of ROI, optimizing ROI for marketing investments, right? So that's the space I've been living with, uh, transitioned my journey from mass media strategist to digital strategist to overall, business performance strategist. And all along, this one thing that really bothered me is that, there's so much happening and we are not able to give the answer the right way. When I started becoming the digital leader and trying to actually advise marketers on their digital transformation journeys or their digital journeys. One thing that always bothered me was, we knew that the online transactions or online campaigns were actually helping them in retail transactions, but we never had a way of measuring it. That itself triggered the thought that this is, and the same way that TV guys are impacting digital, but they really don't have a way of identifying what is impact of TV on digital. So this combination of two things, right? One is to identify what is happening between online to offline and offline to online, is a trigger point. And there are multiple trigger points like this, during our journey of advising the marketing leaders. And every time we are making a strategy for a campaign or a launch or a annual plan, these questions kept on coming back to us, and we said enough is enough. As things are moving in a data driven way, and we felt that this is not the way to go about things, and we should change it, and we should say that we should actually try to find out a genuine answer. And that's how me and my co-founder Satya both said enough is enough, and we don't want to deal with it. We didn't like the status quo, honestly, right? We felt very strongly that we need to do something with it, and we wanted to do it in a holistic way, not just for the sake of doing it, right? We never felt that there's a gap in the market and we wanted to do it. We felt that we've been doing this. This paradigm is broken. We need to reimagine this. We need to create a paradigm which actually works. And at some way, at least my co-founder Satya always tells that, this is our contribution to the marketing investment planning, fraternity at large, right? Because this problem is universal. This is not just limited to India or US. This is a problem that is across the world. And we said it's a great, time to take things in hands and, genuinely try to solve this, right? And that's when we started DataPOEM, and we had a hypothesis. We said that there is a time that is coming in the near future where a connected intelligence system is going to help marketing teams actually make decisions across all four aspects of marketing activity, which is planning, execution, optimization, measurement, and it all has to be connected. Right now, everything is in silos, and it's not effective. We want data and machines to create intelligent answers to make business impact, not just for the sake of data to show great visualizations. That's not what what we are into. We are into genuine, business impactful decision making. In a way, one of our creative team member told us that we should be Jarvis to Iron Man. We should be always enabler to the CMO or the marketing team, and that's what we see ourselves as, and that's what we want to be.
So when you and I were talking about this before the recording over the last couple of weeks, we looked at the marketing automation space, and you showed me that fantastic diagram, which was, I think it's called the Martech, right? The Martech 5000, which actually contains 8,000 plus marketing automation companies of all sizes, from startups all the way up to the big folks. How is there room for yet another vendor to come into this space? And isn't somebody already doing what you're trying to do? Because that's a lot of companies that these marketers are faced with, trying to pick solutions from all these point solutions or these suites of tools. Surely somebody's doing what you're doing.
Okay, so this is where I think I think one of our challenges to actually be in the market is to answer this question very effectively, right? At the last count, there are 8,000 plus Martech companies. Everyone's single promise is to the CMO is marketing ROI. 97% of them are pure operational efficiencies, which is either they save time, either they get a coherent value of some operation that you have to do, or automate very operational activities like social media posting or content tracking or measuring analytics, or just automating email marketing. I mean, they call it as marketing automation in itself, but that's just email marketing automation, right? So all these operational silos, as the way we see it, right? Whether it is marketing automation, CRM systems, audience intelligence systems, even content hosting platforms, campaign operations, digital ops. There are so many silos that have come up, which are just pure operational efficiency improvers. So, but if you look at everyone, the single point that they say are we are going to improve ROI. So the semantics of this whole space is so wrong, right? Yeah, everything is linked to ROI, but not the way the marketing decision maker is looking at ROI, right? They all answer the operational leaders who are trying to get, marketing operational efficiency, either in the form of time saving, resource saving, better coordinated work, rather than actually the ROI that matters where you start planning, right? When you start measuring, when you make decisions of what is the investment to be taken. So to come back to the question, out of this 98% of the companies which are still in the operational realms, they don't answer the question that we are trying to answer. right? Then there is this last sliver, which is what they call, either you call them attribution tools or multi-touch attribution tools, which will help in somewhat decision making, but most of them actually are still broken in the form of, because they are siloed in nature. Again, they only take digital media as a platform and try to understand digital journeys. Even within that, the video campaigns are not monitored and measured well. I mean, of course, now the big thing that's happening, the cookie collapse that is going to happen in the next couple of years is going to completely wipe out what they stand for right now, which is a third-party tracking mechanism. So that's going to go. And from the beginning, we felt that that's not the answer that the marketing leader wants. It is just one part of the answer, and that answer was also not given in the right manner, right? Because it is still not taking what is the impact of other marketing activities on digital itself or digital journeys, right? So that itself, there was a lot of gap in the attribution tools that are available. And the last but not the least, there are a couple of tools which are available, which are trying to create answers of what marketing leaders want, which is in terms of comprehensive view of marketing investment planning. Can we get agile planning? Can we get granular understanding? Hardly anyone was out there. And for us, most of us are stuck in the almost 70s paradigm of statistical methodologies being used to solve the problem, or not so robust advanced techniques to solve the problem that we are trying to solve. At the core level, most of them are solving for a linear path journeys, whereas actually the journeys are actually interconnected. The media behavior is interconnected, and that's not being solved in a comprehensive manner, agile manner, and a granular manner. And that's what we set out to do. When we set out to do, we said that we don't have to do incremental solution. Like, for example, some of the the so-called measurement companies actually solved it by doing a hybrid model, like MMM plus MTA. MMM stands for market mix modeling, which is a system of understanding correlation between inputs to outputs, developed during 70s, inspired from the econometric modeling used in finance, applied to marketing techniques. And there was a fundamental inherent flaw in the way it is done. One, it assumes that all inputs are independent, which is never the case in marketing space, right? Two, the biggest thing with the market mix modeling is that it is trying to solve a problem which is non-linear with a linear model, which is again a problem, right? So coming back, so the market mix modeling was trying to solve correlation between different inputs of marketing to the outcomes. That's market mix modeling. It is used for predominantly mass media era, which is 80s, 90s. And then when digital came along, it was not able to answer what was the contribution of digital. So MTA got developed. MTA was predominantly trying to identify the journeys of consumer towards the purchase and try to figure out what is the best journey to be optimized for. So MTA is solving the digital problem, so-called digital problem of measurement, and MMM is supposed to be solving the mass media problem. Because as the digital evolved and companies started to build digital journeys more, or digital campaigns more, the ecosystem responded by saying that, we will do unified measurement, right? And that itself, it's beautiful when they say it's a unified measurement system. When you just go under the hood, it is just basically MMM plus MTA, which is a fundamentally flawed concept. At the fundamental level, you need to see it in a unified way. The way they do it is they take MTA, try to identify what is the digital attribution independently, and then they look at whatever is left over as MMM's measurement result, right? And then they combine both to see, okay, this is how much digital contributed, this is how TV, print, radio contributed. But what they're answering is, what they left out is that what was the impact of TV on digital was never answered, or digital on TV was never answered, and the holistic effect was never answered. So that's where we said we don't want to solve something which is incremental. We want to solve it in a holistic way, and then only we will actually launch the product. So we said when we start, when we build a platform and we actually launch the platform or we offer the platform to the CMO, our promise is no FUQs, which is frequently unanswered questions of the ecosystem. We want all the questions that are frequently unanswered to the CMOs while making their decisions. We want them answered. And we want to we are reimagining everything the planning and the measurement ecosystem stands for at multiple levels. We see a new paradigm emerging. Like I said, it's a connected intelligence system which is going to drive it rather than independent systems.
Okay, so before we dive into what you're doing, so let's summarize. So we've got 8,000 plus companies in the space, all trying to answer these unanswered questions, these frequently unanswered questions, as you talked about. But what's happening is that they're really providing, traditionally they provided kind of mass media metrics, which were probably a little squishy. Then they got digital and they said, oh, this is great, we can measure this stuff. So let's really figure out what is the contribution of, we spent X amount of dollars on digital and we got Y dollars in revenue. Now the rest, whatever's left over is probably from the mass media, from the television or from the print or whatever. So they're really just putting it in two big buckets, right? And then the hybrid was the combination of the two, where they're saying, let's do both, and therefore we'll give you 100% holistic picture. And if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that's not enough because there are spillover effects between the two buckets where print may influence web or web may influence mass media, television, vice versa, and that there are some complex effects between the two buckets of places you might be doing marketing. Is that correct so far?
Yes, it's accurate.
So I'm a marketer and I have, my list of 8,000 options I can deploy in the company. So let's say I have 20. I think you and I talked about they generally have somewhere between 10 and 20 of these applications running. Why isn't that enough? What's my day-to-day experience? I have 20 applications. I should have tons of information and the ability to make decisions. What are the 2 or 3 things that are kind of part of my reality, given that I have these 20 applications?
So, these 10, 20 applications actually solve the problem of operational leaders and not decision makers. It might solve the problem of an analytics head who is trying to figure out what are the overall, traffic data, what is happening in the website, what are the different journeys, or marketing ops leader who is trying to automate email marketing, CRM systems. They're all solving operational efficiency problems or better productivity of an individual in marketing space, but they are not solving the problem of decision maker who is a CMO or a head of media or a data science head who has to make decisions, right? And we believe those decisions are actually the tenets of building great marketing ROI. So that's the reality. The reality is for CMO, he doesn't know what is the impact of each element of marketing on the sale, right? Even if he knows it in silo way. Second, he doesn't know, what happens if I do what happens if I increase something or decrease something. I don't have an answer. Third thing is I don't have of course, you have a really intuitive, intellect level, observational understanding of are we on the right path or not, but there is no real data driven way to tell whether we are on the right path or not in terms of achieving your KPI. So how do I make decisions if I don't know whether I'm on the right path or not? Fourth one, in the way present given agile dynamic system changing that's happening, right? How do I make changes to my campaign on an ongoing basis backed by data so that I can actually optimize the campaign on an ongoing basis and not just once in a year or once in a quarter, half yearly, right? A lot of times optimization people understand it by bidding optimization, which is still operational, which is important, right? Which is the efficiency of media that you're buying. But the optimization is also happening within the channel mix, within the program mix, within the different tactics that you're using. Those are also optimizing, right? And you have to do it on an ongoing basis. And if you don't have the understanding of interconnected effect of what is working and what is not working, how will you make those decisions? And that's the reality. CMO 2020 study also mentions that even today, 75% or more marketeers believe that their number one challenge is ROI measurement. And there are multiple dimensions in that ROI measurement, right? Which I just told you about. And that's not still answered. If all these 8,000 people have answered all the questions, then why is that the number one problem, right? Because they're solving a part of a problem, but that's not the problem the marketing leaders are getting. Marketing leaders are not getting the answers for, and they're living with it. It's so subconscious now. They know there is no decision, and hence 80% of all the decisions and planning is happening on Excel sheets or mental model. Those are the two ways that they're doing.
So they have a selection of 8,000 applications. They might have 20 deployed. A lot of those are operational efficiency applications. They don't really have any high-level CMO level or head of marketing level insights that are looking across the entire system and looking at the complexities in the system. And so they ultimately just fall back to gut instinct and Excel, which is pretty common across. I would say that's not just a marketing problem, that's an enterprise-wide problem where a lot of companies will, they may have a data warehouse, they may have dashboards, but those things might be out of sync and not really truth, sources of truth. So people just fall back to, well, it's in my spreadsheet somewhere, let me just look it up and I'll make a decision and go forward. So it sounds like you're aiming to sort of solve that issue. When we talked before this podcast, you also said that you had kind of a few key insights, and you've touched on a few, but I'd like to kind of summarize them very quickly. One, which we just noted, was this idea of kind of looking across all of it, digital, non-digital, and looking at the interrelationships between digital and non-digital, which is not being handled today. Another thing you brought up with me was this idea of complexity versus simplicity, or I think the way you phrased it was sort of non-linear multi-variable problem, not a linear single variable problem. And then the other thing was the sort of snapshots versus constant learning. So I'm wondering if you could maybe talk about that.
So yeah, continuing with it, like I said, we already discussed about this interconnected effect of different media on the KPI. As part of it, the other thing is that, like I said, all the techniques right now that were being used are predominantly a linear, univariate, statistical based solutions which are solving for a non-linear, multivariate time series problem.
They're using the wrong tool for the job.
Yes, and what happens because of that is you're just solving a problem, but not with the right intention to solve. Or you have a right intent, but you're not doing it the right way, and hence whatever answer is coming is never the right answer. So that's the second problem. The third problem is continuous learning. All the systems right now which are using to solve this problem are all static problems, and but the real problem that CMO is facing is on a month-on-month basis or a quarter-on-quarter basis. How do I optimize my channel allocation, my program allocation, so that I improve my ROI right now, rather than after 12 months you come and tell me that you should have done better. I don't want that situation. And when we started building this platform, there was almost no platform which is actually offering that agile continuous learning based recommendations so that they can make those decisions, right? And the last but not the least, right, and which is a problem inherently there, is that all the planning is done in silos, right? Because they don't know the interconnected effect, so all the planning is done in silos. So imagine a TV plan is built for media efficiency of TV, which is cost per rating point, or cost of reaching out people. Digital is cost per view or cost per click, which is all media based metrics, right? What they must be doing is that they should be figuring out whether this particular activity will solve or increase the sale or increase my footfalls. They're not looking at that. Yes, there is a correlation, but that's not what the marketer gets as an answer. That's again an intuitive understanding that advertising helps in getting results. That's obvious, right? We've crossed that stage that intuitively we all know that advertising works. That's why there is $650 billion worth of advertising happening, and what we need to know is what is working, how much is it working, what to do and what not to do, right? And that's what is the other problem. And anyone, if you ask any marketer, if someone is solving all this in a comprehensive manner, in a robust manner, and in a very reliable situation, everyone, 9 out of 10 guys would want to have that. The problem is that every time, whenever there's a new solution comes, like I told you, all these 8,000 guys always comes and tells the marketer that your solution is being solved. I am going to solve the ROI problem, right? And there's a disillusionment in the marketing fraternity saying that, everyone comes with a saying that we are going to solve the problem that you're trying to answer. But they end up solving, like I said, the operational problem. When the programmatic came in, they said, this is going to solve because it's going to automate the entire buying situation and you'll get the better ROI. But again, that's media ROI. It's not still the overall marketing ROI that you need to get.
Okay, so let's dig into the actual solution then, and I got to see the demo of the product, which was very impressive. That was really cool to go through. We're not going to do that on today's podcast, but just could you describe at a very high level for somebody who's listening or watching what this platform is and what it's doing, and then technically under the hood, what's required, because this is, of course, a podcast about artificial intelligence and the usage of things like machine learning and deep learning in new functions like this. So maybe walk us from the high level down into the tech.
I'll tell you, like I told you earlier, that when we started to build this platform, we said we need to solve it holistically, and we said there is no incrementality in this approach. So we said we will reimagine everything that what people think of planning and measurement platforms, right? I'll tell you one by one. There are multiples. First is a operational problem of data collection and collation. Second is a problem of control of the insights. Who will give you in what form they'll get. It is predominantly a service-based industry, time consuming, and it's not the marketing decision maker doesn't have a control over the data to ask all the what if questions that he wants to answer, right? He wants to get answers for. That's the second problem. The third problem is, like I said, the technique that is trying to solve for the understanding of interconnected media effect. There's a problem. And the fourth one is in terms of agility and granularity. So that's the fifth one, sorry. Agility, and the last one is the granularity. So let me explain each one, how we are reimagining everything. So what we said is that, we've been part of many of these exercises, so we know the pain. One of the biggest pain point for marketing teams who are trying to solve this, whether they get it right or not, it's the next level, but at least people who are really intent to solve this problem, the biggest problem is data silos, right? In large enterprises, even a mid-size enterprise, the data is owned by different parts of the organization. The mass media data is with mass media team, the digital data is with digital team, CRM data is with the CRM or IT team, the sales transaction is with some other team. It's a varied sets of data partners that are available. Even within mass media team, they have to depend on the mass media agency, outdoor agency, events agency, the PR agency, right? That's all. There's so much of data that is there in silos, and we said we will not ask the client for the data. Most of the data is syndicated data.
What do you mean when you say that most of the data? Because if you're working on my business problem, of course, I personally think that I would need to give you all of my data, access to all 20 applications and maybe all 30 or 40 sub information providers. What do you mean some of that information is syndicated?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, you're right. We definitely need some of the data points from the consumer side or the client side, but predominant data sets like TV spend data, print, radio, digital, outdoor, it's all available in. I mean, everyone uses syndicated data sources to get the data, right? So you don't have to ask the client again to duplicate this process and waste time, because we ask the client goes to the agencies will take their own sweet time to come back that over. Then there's a whole frustrating process of solving this data problem. And again, the data won't come in a certain format. Collating is a problem. There's a lot of gaps that happen. So we said we will not have that. Of course, we will need CRM systems and analytics data, social listening data. So what we said for that is that we've created 200 plus APIs where at the click of a button, you'll be able to give us access and ingest data in an automated manner without any human intervention.
Let's pause there just for a sec. So just because that's really critical. So you've already pre-built integrations into 200 of the, let's say, 8,000 tools that are out there. So if I happen to have one of those 200, I can get the data out.
All the leading applications used by the clients. For example, CRM systems, Salesforce and MSD are the two leaders. Whether it is digital bidding systems, programmatic systems, there are the top three guys who actually manage most of the volume or the transaction sizes that are available in the market.
So you've built connectors to all of those data sources. So in some cases, I may not need to provide you data on, let's say, some mass media stuff, but for other applications, I can just turn on the connector and get the data.
Yeah, that's it. So, like I said, so one set of data which is available outside, we are not going to ask you. One set of data which is available with you, we build connectors so we don't have to ask you, you just have to press OK. That's all, right? And then we also said there is transaction data or the sales data that is again a very sensitive issue, and the clients always are wary about giving it to external parties, or even if it's a on-prem cloud system, they're always wary. So what we said is the first level to build trust on the engine. We said we will have tie-ups with all kinds of consumer panels, transaction panels, where we get understanding of consumer transactions that are happening in real time, of large panels like 50 million customers, so that we actually get a sense of what is the transaction that is happening in response to advertising on a real-time basis, so that we can get that sense very clearly, right? So that is also taken care of. And then we'll enrich with, of course, your data, actual data. But till this level, we've got most of it solved, right? There might be some clients who might say that, okay, I'm good with it. I live with it because I don't want to give all my data, right? But we'll still be robust enough to make decisions, right? That's one step where we said we'll reimagine everything in terms of the data part. The second part, like I said, is the technique, which is where the context of AI and the productive AI comes, right? And when we started our journey, like I said, we set out to do this thing of solving non-linear multi-variate time series analysis. And we said it should provide a granular view, it should provide a continuous learning system, it should solve the fundamental interconnected media problem. And we tried all the techniques that are there. We collaborated with very leading academic institutions which are in the AI space, both in India and US. We worked with a lot of academic experts who are actually solving AI problems, and we tried multiple techniques, and finally we figured out that deep learning, which is a part of machine learning, is the one technique which is solving multiple problems, right? And you will not believe most of the deep learning problems, deep learning solutions are built in the space of image, unstructured data, right? Where the data is huge and they want to solve the unstructured problem. And that's fine, that's fine. But when we looked at the technique in terms of what it does, it perfectly fitted our requirement in terms of granularity, non-linear, multivariate, time series, as well as continuous learning. And marketing is the space which is ripe for it, because the amount of granularity that we have in terms of data availability is huge. So we have, for example, everyone thinks that digital we have a lot of granularity. Even TV data, we have the data at the level of a spot that is telecast in a particular program, particular time period, particular state. What did it deliver in terms of rating? So we have the granularity at that level, right? What best you need. So anyways, digital, we have that data at a very granular level. Print, we have the granularity. Radio, we have the granularity. Outdoor, we have the granularity, right? So once we have all this data at that level of granularity, and even, for example, we know clients who actually have their sales data actually getting updated every hour across the country from each city, each pin code, right? And there are companies who get updated every day. That's good enough, right? And that's granularity for you. So one of the biggest barrier for people applying deep learning is granularity of the data, the quantum of the data that is available. And we have enough and more data, which is syndicated in nature, which is available for the last 3 to 4 years, right? And you can create really robust models to deliver the answer, right? So that's the second thing that we solved, and we might be one of the very, very, very few, I might say 1 or 2 companies who are actually using deep learning. People might be using machine learning. I know it's okay to, machine learning still solves the non-linearity at some level, but the problem is the granularity. When you need to understand the granularity, interconnectedness, deep learning beats machine learning, some of the statistical machine learning techniques hands down. It has to be futuristic. It has to be able to make decisions at multiple levels, and that's what we built the solution with. That's the second level of innovation that we have done, or reimagining the whole thing that we have, what is happening. This is not available in the market. The next level is in terms of granularity of insights, which is where we are able to give you not only at a very high level of media level, let's say, which is TV level, print, radio, digital, but we are going deeper into, if it's TV, what region, what genre, what channel, and we can also give you at what program level that actually made an impact or not. And that's the next level of innovation. It's a very granular level of understanding. For example, the digital solution that we have almost replaces multi-touch attribution hands down, because it can handle the granularity of what MTA answers, which is a keyword level understanding of impact, and it also understands content agile learning part of MTA, and does it without cookies, right? So anyone who is presently using MTA at the highest level has to move into causal learning, which is what deep learning does, and we've already got the solution right away. Then the last one, not last one more thing that we solved is to solve the problem of continuous learning, right? Most of the systems presently are static in nature. And we said, no, we will solve it by actually having a continuous learning engine and get the answers. For digital, you will almost get on a daily basis models created automatically. And on larger cross-channel campaigns, which involves multiple media, where the consumer behavior is built on a cumulative basis, we get models done on a monthly basis. We can do it on a fortnightly basis also, but we believe that monthly basis is the right thing. So you can do monthly basis, quarterly basis, and half yearly and annual. Presently, most of the things are done at annual level and left at it, right? That's the next level of innovation. And one more thing that we've done, like I said, in terms of reimagination, is that the control of what is to be done or what decision I need to take, I should not depend on someone else. So the entire paradigm was a service-led business where someone else is answering your questions, and there's always a time lag, and there's always a problem of how many questions I can ask, right? I want someone who has these questions, and there are multiple questions that come up, and we said we will have to give control to the people who are doing it, not someone else. And so we built a self-serve platform which is intelligent enough to answer all the what if questions, like I said, all the frequently unanswered questions to be answered and more, so that they have a full control of their ROI.
When you showed me the demo and you were able to show a causal link between this television station in this language in this particular region with these types of spots, those are having a very significant impact on your actual sales. I think that level of intelligence is definitely not something I've seen anywhere else. So essentially, what I'm kind of taking away from all of this is that this is a near real-time planning tool and optimizing, and back to your, I think, 4 letters: plan, optimize, what is it, execute and manage, or measure, execute and measure, so that as a marketer, I can then say to the business, I need X amount of money for the next quarter. I know that if I use this particular mix, I'm going to be able to drive Y amount of sales, and I have the data to prove it across all of our channels that we market on. And it sounds like right now the biggest challenge is kind of drowning in data, lots of tools, just not enough high-level business insight into what to do, where to make the spend, and more importantly, or most importantly, how to link the spend to sales. And I think that must be such a crucial pain. And it's really interesting to see that you're bringing artificial intelligence, and in this specific case, machine learning and deep learning, to bring all this data together and be able to say, hey, yes, there's a complex and a huge volume of data, but in that data, we can see these patterns, and we can help you not just see correlation, but causation. I think people are going to be really excited to see that. Where can customers come to connect with you? What are some of the best ways to connect with you? Are you looking for new customers right now? Do you have an early access program? Just can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we've actually right now finished our initial set of early access customers, both in India and US. Our platform is already live with a couple of customers, results already out, and we are ready for the next takeoff. And people can just reach out to us, reach out to me directly, or on the website, on the LinkedIn page. We are more than happy to answer the questions that are not answered yet, and hopefully increase the ROI. We are promising at least 20% of ROI improvement on the existing marketing investments, and that's huge productivity boost. Use the data to actually create your poetry in terms of great ideas, great creative stuff, and great consumer happiness and consumer joy. Because when you do great stuff, people love it. Of course, so that's what we feel, very happy about what we're doing.
What's the typical size of a company that would most likely get value out of this? I'm assuming it's not a two-person shop, so they probably have to have a certain amount of annual spend on marketing. So what would be sort of a sweet spot where it would make sense for them to come and talk to you?
Anyone spending above 50 million has hit that sweet spot, where they have to figure out, the complexity starts to begin now, and we need to make those decisions at that complexity. And as the complexity increases, 100 million, 150 million, 200 million, the productivity also improves that much more, the complexity improves. So it's more and more important for you to understand causation and then make those decisions. So I would say 50 million is a sweet spot from a starting point of view, while the problem exists at every level.
And that's great. So if let's just put somebody in the middle there, they're spending $100 million on marketing spend, omni-channel per year. For them, you're kind of offering up, hey, we're going to give you we're going to find 20% value in there, which would be $20 million. It's a lot. And that could play out two ways. I can imagine that they might actually keep the same amount of spend, maybe continue to spend the 100 million, but get higher sales as a result of it, as having clear cause linkage. And then, or alternately, maybe they spend less on that marketing budget in the next quarter or the next year, but they still achieve the same amount of sales. So depending which way they're looking at solving the problem. Bharath, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. It has been a total pleasure getting to know you over the last few weeks and having our conversation. So thank you so much. I wish you and your team so much luck and success. Actually, luck and success. I was going to say less luck and more direct success, but being lucky is also great. So hopefully both.
Thank you so much, Troy, for actually having me. It was really wonderful talking to you about different aspects of AI and how AI is going to impact a lot of aspects of our lives, improving it for the better side of us. And we are very happy that we're doing it for marketing. And I'm sure you will bring a lot more, use cases of how AI can be productively used.
You're very welcome. Have a great day, and I'm sure we'll be in touch very soon. Thanks, Bharath.
Great. Thank you so much for this. Bye.
Thank you very much for tuning in to the Productive AI podcast. I'm your host, Troy Angradon, and that was our conversation with Bharath Gaddam, who's the CEO and founder over at DataPOEM. We'll put all the links in the show notes for how to reach out to them and to Bharath directly if that sounds like that could be of interest to you and your marketing team. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode.